So, have you ever felt like you're constantly trying to, calm your mind down, but then no matter what you do, those deeper issues, those old patterns, they just bubble right back up again?
Oh, absolutely. It's a common feeling, isn't it? Like
Right.
you're always patching leaks.
Exactly. Patching leaks, not fixing the source.
Mm.
Well, today we're going to take a real deep dive into Vipassana meditation. It's this, well, ancient and pretty powerful practice aimed at what they call penetrating insight. And we're drawing on some really foundational texts here, things like Steps of Meditation, the Sutra of the King of Meditative Equilibrium, and insights from, masters like Nagarjuna and Tilopa. Our mission really is to get clear on this crucial difference between just calming the mind and actually freeing it. And also, how do you even prepare for something like this? And why is the nature of your own mind apparently the key to, well, everything? To liberation. Okay, let's try and unpack this a bit. A lot of us were looking for inner peace, right? And practices like Shamatha, the ones focusing on concentration, they definitely promise to quiet the mind. Our sources are clear. Shamatha is valuable. It helps calm that internal chatter, helps manage those mental defilements, disturbing emotions.
It really does. It's like hitting a pause button,
Yeah,
bringing some temporary stillness, which is often much needed.
definitely needed. But here's where it gets really interesting. Our sources seem to be saying that just calming the mind, well, it isn't enough to cut the root of these problems.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that while shamatha is great for managing symptoms, maybe temporarily suppressing these obscurations, it doesn't actually get to the underlying cause. It's like, mopping up a leak without fixing the pipe.
Hmm.
The texts really emphasize this. Without that deeper insight, these mental habits, these defilements, they just keep coming back, often unconsciously, because their root, the actual source, isn't severed. It's a temporary solution, really.
So not a permanent fix.
Not at all. And that's where Vipassana comes in. Vipassana, or insight meditation, it allows for this genuine, penetrating insight into what they call the absence of independent existence.
Absence of independent existence. What does that actually mean in practice?
Well, it means really seeing, directly experiencing that nothing, not even our solid sense of me or self or external things, exists as some kind of fixed, separate entity. Sort of like seeing a wave and understanding it's not separate from the ocean, right? It's just the temporary expression of it. And that profound understanding, that insight, is what the text leads to the complete eradication of defilements and disturbing emotions.
Ah, okay. So it's not just stopping the noise, but understanding why the noise is there and kind of changing your whole relationship to it.
Precisely. The Steps of Meditation text puts it quite clearly. It says, yogis eliminate disturbing emotional states with the help of shamatha practice. But with shamatha alone, these states cannot be fully eradicated.
Right.
Without vipassana, yogis will remain ignorant of their delusions, which persist at an unconscious level. It's a pretty strong warning, isn't it?
Yeah, that we might be missing a really crucial step.
In the Sutra of the King of Meditative Equilibrium, it echoes this. It says, people can use shamatha to temporarily clear things up, but it warns, if they do not attain the penetrating insight of vipassana, they will not comprehend their own true nature, and their obscurations will arise again. And this text explicitly states, only the penetrating insight of vipassana can lead to nirvana, liberation from suffering.
So shamatha gives you calm, maybe some space.
Exactly. Temporary calm, space. But vipassana helps you find lasting freedom. It goes right to the core.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so if Vipassana is really the key to this deeper liberation, how do we even, start preparing for it? It sounds like it's definitely not something you just casually jump into.
No, not at all. And the sources really stress this preparatory phase. They highlight how important it is to understand what the practice actually is and, crucially, what results it leads to before you even begin.
Why is that initial understanding so vital?
Well, it builds confidence. It gives you a kind of roadmap. If you know where you're going and why, you're more likely to stay the course.
Yeah.
The clarification of the sutra revealing meaning outlines this path, listening to teachings, reflecting on them, and establishing a true view. It's a step-by-step process.
Listening, reflecting, establishing a view.
Yes, but it's not just intellectual. The steps of meditation really hammers home the need to find someone with the appropriate skills, receive instructions from them, and analyze those instructions. And critically, this isn't just someone who's read a lot. It specifies someone who not only knows how to practice, but actually practices themselves.
Ah, that's a key distinction. Lived experience, not just theory.
Exactly. That direct transmission from a teacher who embodies the practice is considered paramount in many traditions.
Okay, so find a qualified guide. But beyond the teacher, what about the teachings themselves? Are all teachings sort of equal when aiming for this deep insight?
That's another really critical point the texts raise. They warn us not to get sort of lost in what they call teachings of interpretive meaning.
Interpretive meaning.
Yeah, these are the teachings that deal more with relative truth, concepts, logic, analysis. Think of them like detailed maps describing the territory. Useful, certainly.
But maybe not the territory itself.
Precisely. They don't necessarily lead to direct lived experience. Instead, the advice is to seek out teachings of ultimate meaning. These focus on absolute truth, the actual nature of reality. They aim for that direct experience of emptiness, something beyond just thinking about it conceptually.
Can you give an example? Like, what's interpretive versus ultimate?
Sure. So interpretive teachings might discuss concepts like self, or how sensory perception works, consciousness in a relative way. Very important, but still conceptual. Ultimate teachings, on the other hand, dive right into things like the absence of independent existence of the self, or unbornness, or emptiness.
Emptiness. That word can sound a bit, well, empty or nihilistic, maybe.
Right, but it doesn't mean a void or nothingness in this context. It points to the true nature of things, how they lack inherent fixed independent existence. They arise dependently, they're dynamic. Like seeing a mirage, it looks real, but it has no inherent substance of its own. It's understanding that lack of solid, independent reality.
Okay, that clarifies it. It's about seeing through the appearance of solidity.
Exactly. And for those following specific lineages, the texts also often stress the importance of the guru's transmission, their blessings. They see this as vital for gaining that authentic, non-conceptual view. It's passed down directly.
Right. So discerning the type of teaching is crucial, moving from the map to the actual territory experientially. So once we've done that groundwork, got the right kind of guidance and teachings, are there different ways to actually practice Vipassana? Our sources hint at various methods.
Yes, absolutely. There are different approaches mentioned, things like reflecting deeply on impermanence or really understanding the Four Noble Truths. These are valid paths to insight. But if we zoom out a bit, different traditions definitely emphasize different routes to this penetrating insight.
Like how?
Well, in the Mahamudra tradition, for instance, that Vipassana insight comes from directly understanding the absence of independent existence of both your own self and external things. It's about grasping the true nature of everything, subject and object together, in a kind of non-dual way. Very direct.
Okay, a direct approach. How does that compare to other traditions?
Well, it often contrasts with some of the approaches from certain Indian philosophical schools, like Mahamudra. Historically, figures like Nagarjuna used intense logical analysis, methods like analyzing one and many, or identity and difference, to intellectually dismantle the idea of inherent existence in phenomena. It's a powerful analytical path to understanding emptiness.
Sounds quite rigorous intellectually.
It is hugely influential. But the texts we're looking at, particularly those leaning towards Mahamudra, sometimes offer caution. They warn that this purely analytical approach, based heavily on negation, proving what things are not, risks getting stuck in a conceptual grasp of reality.
Ah, so you might understand emptiness as an idea, but not directly experience it.
That's the potential pitfall they point out. Reducing true reality to a concept, however refined, might miss the direct, nonverbal experience it's pointing towards.
So what's the Mahamudra alternative then?
The Mahamudra tradition tends to advocate using the mind itself as the tool to gain direct experience of emptiness. It asserts that emptiness can't fully be grasped by logic alone. This approach has perhaps more in common with the Yogacara school's focus on mind. It emphasizes comprehending the nature of your own mind.
Focusing inward on the mind itself.
Precisely. You see great Indian siddhas, like Saraha, Tilopa, Shavaripa. They taught methods focused on contemplating the mind's true nature, rather than just analyzing external objects. Why? Because they taught that absolute reality is realized by recognizing the nature of your own mind. Emptiness isn't just out there. It's inherent in the mind itself, as both subject and object.
It's the lens and the view. Wow, that's a significant shift. Moving beyond concepts, beyond just analyzing the external world and turning the focus inward. So if Mahamudra points inward like this, what becomes the ultimate target for this penetrating insight? The sources seem really clear on this. It's the true nature of our own mind.
Yes, unambiguously.
But why the mind, specifically? Why is that the ultimate focus?
Well, that's really the crux of it, isn't it? The texts explain that realizing ultimate reality is best achieved by understanding the nature of your own mind, because fundamentally the mind is what determines everything. It determines whether we stay trapped in samsara, that cycle of suffering and confusion, or whether we achieve nirvana, freedom. Because how we perceive everything around us, every single experience, whether it's delusion or enlightenment, it's all generated by or through the mind. It's the canvas, the painter, and the painting all at once. So logically, it becomes the most crucial object of meditation. There's a great quote from Bodhisattva Vikrantamati in the repetition of the names of the Dharma Sutra. He says, the essence of all teachings is contained in understanding the fact that all separately existing phenomena completely depend on the mind.
Depend on the mind.
To bring the mind to a state of peace, you must rely on the mind itself. If you can comprehend the nature of the mind, you will gain knowledge about everything.
Gain knowledge about everything just by understanding the mind.
That's the claim, because your entire experience of reality flows through it. Another text, the Sutra of Jewel Clouds, puts it simply. Mind is the starting point of all phenomena. Only comprehending the true nature of the mind leads to comprehending the true nature of everything else.
The starting point.
And think about this analogy from Tilopa, one of the great Mahamudra masters. He said, comprehending the nature of the mind is like cutting a tree at its very root.
Okay.
Attempts to gain spiritual insight by other means are like chopping off a tree's branches.
Wow. So other methods might just trim the leaves, but this goes straight to the root cause.
That's exactly the implication. You can manage symptoms, prune branches, but for real transformation, you have to go to the root, the mind itself.
So knowing your mind isn't just like one option among many spiritual paths. It's presented as the most fundamental, the most direct route to genuine liberation.
That's certainly how these texts frame it. Shantideva, in his famous Introduction to the Bodhisattva's Path, reinforces this very practically. He states that ignorance of the mind's nature always leads to suffering.
Yeah.
And then he says, if you strive for happiness, there is no better practice than knowing the nature of the mind. It's not just about lofty spiritual goals. It's about basic well-being and ending suffering.
Okay, but this raises a really logical question, doesn't it? If the mind is so central, and its true nature is enlightenment, as some texts suggest, well, why isn't everyone enlightened already? It feels like a bit of a paradox. And our sources actually tackle this challenge head-on.
Yes, it's a fundamental question, and a common objection raised by more analytically minded thinkers. They argue, if enlightenment is possible just by meditating on the mind's nature without all the complex analysis, then surely everyone would achieve it easily. Because, they argue, the fundamental nature of an ordinary person's mind and an enlightened being's mind isn't actually different.
Right. So are we already enlightened and just don't realize it? Is that the idea?
That's close to the Mahamudra view, yes. But the text explained that the critics often miss the point because they rely too heavily on a purely conceptual understanding of emptiness. They might see the ordinary deluded mind as something flawed that needs to be completely gotten rid of, replaced by something else. But the Mahamudra tradition asserts something quite radical. The true nature of the mind is emptiness. They're not separate. So, meditating on the mind's true nature is meditating on emptiness. When you comprehend the mind's true nature, you comprehend ultimate reality directly. It's not about eliminating the mind, but realizing its actual nature.
So it's less about achieving some totally new state and more about recognizing an inherent quality that's already there, but maybe obscured.
Precisely. That inherent purity is a cornerstone teaching. It shows up again and again in these texts. For instance, the Sutra of Appearance on Lanka says, Buddha is the mind itself, transformed, having relinquished conceptual elaborations. See? It's about relinquishing, letting go of concepts, not adding something new.
Transformed mind.
And the king of all tantras, the Kalachakra, makes this incredible statement. All living beings are originally enlightened, for the state of Buddha can be found in the mind of all ordinary living beings.
Wow, originally enlightened, that's huge.
It's a profoundly hopeful view of our fundamental nature, isn't it? The potential isn't something external we have to acquire. It's innate. The Tantra of the Indestructible Dakini adds, when the mind comprehends its true nature, we understand that we were originally awakened. So these texts consistently confirm that the essential nature of an ordinary mind isn't different from an enlightened mind. It's inherently pure, inherently clear, just temporarily obscured. Mahamudra Vipassana, then, is presented as the method to gain direct, non-conceptual experience of this true, originally pure nature. It's an uncovering, a realization.
Not becoming pure, but realizing the purity that was always there.
Exactly. And the Tantra of the realization of the essence of non-duality puts it beautifully. Buddha cannot be found outside ourselves. Buddha can only be found in the space of our own consciousness. It brings it all right back home to your own awareness.
So wrapping this up, what does this really mean for you listening right now? We've taken quite a journey into Vipassana, haven't we? Moving beyond just, trying to quiet the mind to really understanding its profound inherent nature. We've seen how all this wisdom from so many different texts and masters, Nagarjuna, Tilopa, the sutras, it all seems to consistently point inward to your own mind as the ultimate path.
Yeah, if we zoom out one last time, the big picture here seems to be that the most transformative journey isn't necessarily about going somewhere else or analyzing endlessly. It's about turning inward, discovering this undefiled, maybe even enlightened nature that these texts say resides within your own mind right now. And the realization isn't about becoming some totally different person, but about recognizing, uncovering what's always been present beneath all the layers of thoughts, concepts, and temporary obscurations.
It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What if the real key to understanding the universe, to finding genuine, lasting happiness, isn't out there somewhere? What if it lies simply, profoundly in knowing the true nature of the very mind that perceives it all? What if the answer you're searching for is already here within you, just waiting to be seen?